Starting us off in at number 10, Springtrap and Golden Freddy. Now for those of you a little less familiar with the Five Nights franchise, Springtrap is a character who first appeared in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, and then appeared in subsequent games. He's the main and only corporeal antagonist in that third game, and is the mutated corpse of William Afton that's been trapped inside of a very badly damaged animatronic bunny suit that appears to be an early iteration of Bonnie. So yeah, this ship is with a reanimated corpse and a Golden Freddy, who is a mysterious ghost-like yellow version of Freddy. I mean, when you look at it like that, it does kind of make sense then, huh? Moving on to number 9, Chica and Foxy. One quick Google search for these two and you'll be privy to a plethora of fan art depicting the pirate fox and the insatiable chicken making love eyes at one another, kissing, and in some fan art, seemingly straddling one another. Yeah. It's a thing. Whether it's because Chica's bossiness and Foxy's bad boy persona fit well together, or it's because the idea of a chicken and a fox romantically falling in love with one another is appealing to some, this ship has gotten some serious love online from fans. Moving on to something equally as disturbing, in at number 8, Circus Baby and Funtime Freddy. Personally, I find Circus Baby incredibly unsettling. Just look at her, She's the mascot of Circus Baby's Pizza World, a sister location to Freddy's, as implied in the title of Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, the 4th game in the series. She is the focal animatronic in that game, and she is terrifying. So it makes sense that she would be shipped with Funtime Freddy, a white and pink version of Freddy found at Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental. Aesthetically, they actually look pretty good together, I suppose. And this version of Freddy is actually quite nice to children, rarely expressing a psychotic side, and has a puppet named Bon Bon who kinda looks like Bonnie, who tries to calm him down often. So, And at 7, Ennard and Exotic Butters. Yes, a joke ship. Ennard is a terrifying amalgamation of the Circus Baby's Pizza World animatronics, like all of them. And Exotic Butters? Well, that is an item from sister location that's given to the player as a gift after you get the good/fake ending. On night 5 in the elevator, Hand Unit will tell you that you got a reward for doing exceptional work, and you're instructed to type in the first few letters of what gift you want on your keypad. But no matter what you type in, it glitches and autocorrects to Exotic Butters. As you can imagine, it became a meme, largely thanks to Markiplier. In at number 6, Golden Freddy and Chica. Because they're yellow. Actually, that is the main reason why this ship is a ship. Sometimes it's all about aesthetics for people. Moving on. In at number 5, Foxy and Mangle. To some, this is a joke ship. To others, it's a ship to be taken seriously. Many consider this couple to be relatively canon too. Sort of. Context time. Mangle is an animatronic that first showed up in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. It is also known as Toy Foxy or Funtime Foxy, but a mangled up version of an iteration of Foxy that has a smaller nose. Now her backstory is that she was an attempt at remaking Foxy since the original Foxy was too scary. But kids kept breaking this animatronic and it became a mess of parts known to employees as the Mangle. Now Mangle is often referred to as female thanks to the custom night mode Ladies Night. So there you go. In at number 4, Freddy and Bonnie. Freddy and Bonnie, because LGBTQ ships are a thing in horror games too, right? The game is called Five Nights at Freddy's after all, so he's kind of like our protagonist antagonist in all of this shipping, so it makes sense Freddy would get a good ship. And Bonnie is his cool guitar-playing bandmate who he has had a romantic entanglement with, or at least according to all the fan art and fan fiction that has popped up about these two on the interwebs. Make what you will of their maybe romance, but it is undeniable that these two are a killer pair. See what I did there? They got murdered down packed. Moving on to number 3, Bonnie and Chica. Sometimes these two are imagined as being best pals. Other times in fan art, these two are a romantic item. Now they're kind of the most obvious ship in the game, sorry Freddy, with Bonnie being the cool guitar player and Chica the backup singer who clearly has the hots for him. Anyway, there's a whole lot of fan art of these two, but nothing compares to this other iteration of their ship in at number 2, Toy Bonnie and Toy Chica. I guess there's something about the two of these characters looking more cutesy together that gets fans really into the idea that they'd make, dare I say it, a cute couple together. Toy Bonnie is a much newer version of Bonnie who is much more shinier and blue and appears to have undergone the most drastic changes aesthetically compared to Bonnie's previous model. Toy Chica is a similar creation, a newer model and one that feels like she has more feminine traits than the original Chica. Perhaps this is why these two have become the focus of a whole lot of fan art in which they romantically embrace one another. Luckily, it's a little bit more PG than some of the others. Thank God. And last but not least, the most horrific ship of them all, in at number 1, Springtrap and Mangle. I mean, obviously, look at them. Also, they both hate children too, so what a pair. Just taking a look at both of these partially destroyed animatronics, and you can clearly see that they're a match made in heaven. And actually, they're another popular pair that has a whole lot of fan art kicking around the interwebs, but mostly fan art that depicts their bodies not completely destroyed, or mangled for lack of a better term there. Some have even gone as far as naming this ship Springle, which makes me think of Pringles. And now I kind of want a snack, so there we go.
And it's Charlotte. While yes, Charlotte may have been Afton's first true kill, causing his descent into absolute freaking madness, in the games, Charlotte ends up possessing the puppet, who then gives life to the other animatronics, which causes you to disassemble them and release their spirit. In both universes where William kills Charlotte, it comes back to bite him in the since Henry comes after him for it, which results in what should be his death multiple times over. And not to mention how in the book specifically, unbeknownst to her at least, she is an animatronic robot that was meant to replace the daughter that Henry had lost. But it was also revealed that the animatronic is also Baby. You know, the baby animatronic that we all know and love? Yeah, who can switch between her forms at will, and then the human version doesn't remember being Baby. So yeah, Charlotte in the books is also Baby, which is also in the games William's daughter, in a 9 hiding spot. Okay, again, how the absolute living hell did you get away with this? The smell of rotting bodies would ruin any place that you're in, okay? It doesn't matter if you're eating, if you're dancing, I don't know, committing murder. The smell of rotting bodies always puts a damper on things. And the heat from the animatronics moving on like all their insides, because you know, it's heat. It would speed up the decomposition and make it stink even worse, because heat always makes things worse. And the animatronics are in front of people every single day, okay? People even started complaining that the animatronics were leaking blood, as well as, quote, smelling like death. If that was real life, William would be gone, okay? He would have been caught instantaneously. Like, oh man, we never found the bodies of these kids. Wait, hold up. These animatronics are leaking blood, smell like death. Call Agent Booth. We need to check these. Then they found the missing kids, alright, Afton is under arrest. They already suspected him. And I mean, like, having bodies hidden in your animatronics where you're the technician for the suits and also, I don't know, the CEO. Yeah, you're instantly incarcerated. I don't know. I don't know how this wasn't just a clean-cut case. Okay, I know that was important for the story of the games, but it shouldn't have happened, alright? His whole plan is a dumpster fire of embarrassment, and I love it. And it ain't killing where you eat. The biggest mistake that William ever made, in my personal opinion, and I will say this until the day I die, was the fact that he killed people in his restaurant, okay? It's unknown if this was always his intention, but like, come on. Who would think that this is a good idea? Like, who in the comments wants to come at me and try to justify killing your prime demographic in your place of business, okay? Dealers don't kill their customers, okay? Mechanics only bleed their clients dry of their money, not their blood. So like, why would William think that this is a good idea? Literally, go anywhere else. This is just like, it's basically killing in your house and then like calling the cops and saying, hey, I killed someone in my house. It's putting unwanted attention and scrutiny on literally everything you do just so they can try to catch you. Like, you even end up getting banned from going back into your building when the investigation is underway. And it's not like it helped your business. You had to close the first location because of this, resulting in you having to open another one that killed your daughter. So, yeah, pretty embarrassing if you ask me. All you had to do was go to the park or some random alleyway or like a laser tag place, and then boom, your kids would be alive, you'd be harder to suspect, and you'd be rich from your business, because honestly it was a good idea, but you're done. And it's 7, Cassidy. Assuming for this scenario that Cassidy is the one you should not have killed, this was also one of the most embarrassing things that William could have done. Or maybe he doesn't consider it a mistake, because like the one you should not have killed is kind of keeping him alive after all, although it's still unclear if they're doing that currently or not. But they're doing it as a way to make him suffer. So I feel like getting possessed by a child is pretty embarrassing. I mean, that, like, depending on the angle that you want to like look at, that I'm going with it's embarrassing. If I was possessed by a child, I would be embarrassed. I don't think I am. hopefully. But even if he does like consider this a good thing, or if Cassidy doesn't end up being the one you should not have killed, which in my opinion she's not, but like killing those 5 kids that made up the missing children's incident that likely ended with Cassidy, that's dude, come on, we already talked about it. You killed in the wrong place. It's embarrassing. So, you know what? If you don't want to count Cassidy as the embarrassing mistake, count the missing children's incident as that mistake, all right? Just count it whatever way you want. It's on the list, deal with it. And at 6, Henry. Why did you think that killing Charlotte wouldn't have any consequences, okay? Like, you killed your business partner's daughter. That was probably pretty obvious to him, especially since he already suspected you were up to something, and he took extra care to protect his daughter, and then she still died. That is 100% the superhero origin story that Henry needed. A vengeful father if I have ever seen one, and he didn't even need vengeance when he was putting that green bracelet on his daughter. So then you know what? Then he's after you, or it seems like it, and you don't kill him next. Like, killing Henry would have done so many wonders for your criminal career. I mean, like, yeah, the cops were already suspicious of you. As long as they can't find a body, they've already said that, like, they can't arrest you without a body, apparently. So if they won't put you away for 5 missing kids, they won't put you away for a missing father as well. Especially a jury who has to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that you're the killer. And I mean, like, I don't know, that's kind of up in the air, and like, you'd rather not go to trial if you were being charged with murder, but still, without a body, there can't really be any forensic evidence. So if you just, I don't know, throw it in a wood chipper. Again, these videos are going to be the reason I get hauled into the police station. Halfway through into number 5, Elizabeth. Speaking of mistakes, let's talk about his own daughter. I get it, because she's a mistake. Actually, we don't know. She might be. I don't know how William thought that, like, this was a good idea, though. Like, I feel like this guy, like, trying to brainstorm how to capture kids more efficiently, and like, he hadn't even started killing at this point. He's like, oh, I know, I can make a robot to lure them in with ice cream and then grab them where they're close. Okay, so what's it gonna look like? Oh, let's call my daughter and ask for some design tips, you know? Then like, Elizabeth ends up making the most predictable move ever and going directly against her father's instructions, like a kid, to go see the robot. That's basically perfect in her eyes. William, why? Why did you think that this wasn't going to happen? You had to lock your child in his room so that he wouldn't go to Freddy Fazbear's fucking Pizza, and you think that your daughter isn't gonna walk up to an animatronic, especially at the age where they want to piss you off. And they're also seemingly loaded because you own a successful entertainment business, okay? Spoiled rich kids listening to their dad when they say to not touch a giant robot that was made to appeal to kids. Yeah, that's gonna work. God, you're a special kind of stupid. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. It is truly embarrassing, bro. Okay? All you needed to do was have a blacklist and say, don't kill these kids. And you would have been fine. But no. And at 4, fun times. Now, there's no doubting what you've achieved on a technical level. These are clearly state of the art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping you could shed some light on those. Well, she can dance, she can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests. She can even dispense ice cream. Yeah, with all due respect, those weren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton. Yeah, that classic line of William seemingly being interrogated by the police that plays the first time you open up Sister Location is definitely showcasing how embarrassingly stupid this guy is. The cops know what these animatronics are doing and are capable of, and what they were designed to do, so they instantly end up being even more suspicious of him. And considering like the circumstances, we can also assume that Elizabeth is inside the robot. Like, there's no way that they confiscated the animatronics before they had to close Circus Babies. So she is definitely still inside the robot. So they're definitely keeping a closer eye on him, and his daughter's in a robot that they're asking him about, okay? Bro, yeah, why? Designing the fun times as killbots before seemingly you actually had the rest of the FNAF roster, definitely an embarrassing moment. Especially considering how one of the fun times was meant to symbolize your dead wife. I don't wanna know how you were trying to fill that one with souls, bro. Leave me out of it. Getting close to the end, into number 3, Crying Child. I've had a ton of people complain to me about how Crying Child's death wasn't William's fault, since he wasn't the one who put Crying Child's head in Fredbear's mouth, okay? And then the spring locks failed because he was crying. But let's be honest, there is no logical way that animatronic jaw should have crushed his skull. Even the spring locks, okay? The spring locks weren't active and would have required a lot of power to actually accomplish this goal with just normal opening and closing power of a jaw. So the only way that Crying Child's skull could have been crushed was if Afton had intentionally, for some reason, supercharged the jaw of the animatronic. Which it would make sense if he wanted to use it as a kill machine, like as a prototype fun time, or maybe he wanted to use it as a backup kill suit in case Spring Bonnie ended up failing. Figuring more power in the jaw would help him, which clearly it did, just in literally the worst way possible. There's also no way that this is a spring lock failure, guys, okay? The suit was already in animatronic mode, meaning that the spring lock mechanisms that are the reason that it could fail, because they're used to keep the robotic parts to the size that someone can fit in the suit, weren't being used because it was in animatronic mode. So they don't need to keep the robotic parts to the side. The spring lock failure problem comes when those mechanisms are put under stress of having to keep the parts away from the person in the suit, okay? And then if they get wet, that's when they can loose and then that's why they can't get wet, okay? Keep in mind that the term spring lock in this context is being referred to the parts that move the robotic bits away inside the actual suit. Since the suit is also referred to as a spring lock, I feel like I kind of need to clarify that. Penultimately, in at number 2, Princess Quest. The whole reason Princess Quest is a thing in Security Breach was to lock Vanny away and prevent her from regaining control of her body. So why did William create or allow for the creation of a failsafe to allow her to escape? I mean, sure, they didn't expect the size of a 4-year-old kid to come along and figure it out, but given the track record of William, you'd think that he'd have smartened up after at least 40 years. But that's like having a self-destruct button on the thing that's gonna save the world, that the villain can just come up and go boop. That's like some Austin Powers level comedy. Or like if the Flash had a steal my speed button on him anywhere at any point. It's just stupid. If you want something to work, why give it a way to fail? And then you let it happen. It fails because of a kid the size of a 4-year-old. Maybe, not even. This is one of the dumbest, most embarrassing things that William has had happen, and probably the 3rd dumbest overall, okay? But seriously, what was the point behind the way to undo your evil plans? Well, that's one of the most ridiculous, unbelievable things in a story about serial killers getting possessed and animatronic robots getting possessed. I know that it was it was required so that we could have a good ending to this game, but that ending isn't even canon, so we don't care about it. Okay, it was one of the dumbest things that has ever happened in this series. Why? Why would you do that? And finally, into number 1, Springtrap. Being the genius behind some of the most advanced robotic technology in the universe, we expect a lot from William, okay? He's the suit technician, he's the main killer, he seems to be the CEO of the company, so he should really know what he's doing, right? Apparently not. Since after discovering that the original 5 animatronics were possessed, he disassembled them to learn their secrets. This inadvertently released the spirits of the original 5 victims, though, causing William to panic, which is understandable since firstly they're freaking ghost kids that he never expected to see again, and also because they're the ghost kids that he killed. Okay, so this absolute animatronic genius, the technician that has handled the suit maintenance for years and has explained to every employee the proper procedure for the spring lock suits, including the Spring Bonnie suit that he uses, ends up climbing inside the suit in a panic in an attempt to make himself feel more powerful and maybe scare off the ghost kids. However, he's so smart that he didn't notice the moisture in the room, the leaking ceiling, which causes the spring locks that were active at this moment since it was in suit mode to fail, which would have killed him had he not been possessed by the one you should not have killed. An intent hiding spot. This is based on the story, but how the absolute living hell did William get away with this, okay? Hiding the bodies in animatronics? Dude, the smell of rotting bodies would absolutely ruin anything. And the heat from the animatronics moving would speed up the actual decomp of the bodies inside, thus making it worse. And the animatronics are in front of other children every single day, okay? Parents even started complaining that the animatronics were leaking mucus and blood, as well as, quote, smelling like death, okay? If this was real, and William getting away with this wasn't important for the story of the games, he would have been caught instantly. They never found the bodies of these kids. Like, oh, we never found the bodies of these kids that supposedly went missing in this pizza place, but now their animatronics are starting to leak blood and are reporting to smell like death. Maybe we should check these out. Oh man, look, 5 dead bodies corresponding to different victims that went missing on the premises. William, you're under arrest. See, like, I don't get how this wasn't cut and dry, how this didn't just... How? In at 9, Mrs. Afton's death. This is more so embarrassing because of the community as a whole. The story of Mrs. Afton, if there even is one, is a mystery that we've been debating for ages. A story that hasn't even had a slight amount of explanation, okay? No references, no mention of an actual name, nothing. So naturally, there are theories. However, these theories have no actual base in game lore, and instead focus on FNAF animated music videos, and stories, and fan fictions that are treated as canon, and sometimes heavily so. The truth is that we have no idea what happened to Mrs. Afton currently, alright? We don't even know if there really was a Mrs. Afton or if it was just like a baby mama or a one-night stand, or like maybe William ended up having like a surrogate so that he could have children of his own, alright? His kids may also just be adopted. There's a whole series of explanations as to what can actually be the case. But either way, for some reason, okay, and I don't know what really caused this to pick up, a load of people think that Mrs. Afton died in a car accident. Like, I mean, it's a possibility. That doesn't mean that it's canon, okay? Technically, there's infinite possibilities, okay? I mean, there are also others that think that William killed her or that she just left him because she found out what he was into, but then again, for some reason, she would also have had to leave him with his prime demographic. Others think that the reason that she left was because he started killing. Others think that she died in a plane crash. And you know what? All are equally possible, but nothing is actually canon, so stop treating it like it is, because frankly, it's embarrassing. In at 8, Princess Quest. Another embarrassing moment for William. Alright, the whole reason he made Princess Quest a thing in the first place was to lock Vanessa away and prevent her from regaining control of her body whenever William needed it, okay? So why the hell did William create some sort of fail-safe to let her escape? Like, okay, maybe he didn't expect Gregory to come along, or maybe he did and figure it out, I don't know. But given the track record of this series and the amount of times William himself, just alone, has been burned, literally, you think that he would have smartened up already. But you know what? He didn't. And you know what? It's like having a self-destruction button, okay? It's like having something on the inside of the Iron Man suit or on the outside of the Iron Man suit that someone can just tap and then boom, it doesn't work anymore. Like, why? Why would you do that? It's stupid. If you want something to work, why give it away to not work? Like, this is one of the dumbest things that William has done. And at 7, Mike Trap. The Mike Trap versus Will Trap debate, at least in our comment section, seems to be over. Well, at least it was until other videos went out, because, you know, people are gonna start trolling again. However, the debate over who is in the Springtrap suit is sometimes still heavily debated on other comment sections and like on Reddit. And this is specifically thanks to the final scene from the sister location final cutscene that involved the final speech from Michael and the reappearance of Springtrap, confirming theories about him surviving the Fazbear Frights fire. However, the appearance of Springtrap, accompanied by the line of "I'm going to come find you," left some people thinking that Michael was the one in the Springtrap suit instead of William, also leading to the conclusion that Michael was the purple guy instead of William, which is also wrong, as confirmed by Scott when he said check MatPat's explanation on the subject, which MatPat concluded that Michael had no way of being the purple guy and thusly is not Springtrap. But, you know, people are still yelling about it. Even Scraptrap reignited this debate. Like, people now think, or at least used to also think, that Scraptrap was Michael or William, and that Springtrap was William or Michael. And at 6, PizzaBot. One of the most interesting things to me in Security Breach was the PizzaBot minigame, where you choose to go to the bottom of the Pizzaplex, and then, like, you go through the vent and try to escape the Pizzaplex instead of going through L chips. At that point, you end up getting locked in a security office where Chica is outside the only working door. So, to lure her away, you need to make a pizza using one of the chef bots. So then she goes and gets the pizza, and then you can leave through the door. It's actually like a really cool look into like the Fazbear Kitchen and how it operates now, with service bots kind of taking up the position positions of people because they can be unpaid, but also I'm guessing are more reliable to not kill people than humans, which is kind of funny when you're talking about this series. However, the funniest part about it was when I got stuck in the sauce machine and decided to say, "Oh no, Steph Chica," and that's what made this embarrassing for me. I said in a different video I would talk about it at some other point, and this is that point, okay? I don't know how it happened, but when I was making the pizza, I got phased into the sauce machine, which resulted in me being unable to actually finish the pizza, so I just had to wait to be jump scared to retry. But while I was waiting, I decided to say, "Oh no, Step Chica, I'm stuck in the sauce machine. I hope nobody comes by and licks sauce out of my," and then I won't finish that sentence because I think it's fairly evident where I was going. Yeah, that was a low moment for the barnacle. Halfway through into number 5, real life. The Twitter account Diamond Zia on June 27, 2020 tweeted out 3 photos with the line, "FNAF will be real in 48 hours." These pictures were of news articles. One from USA Today titled, "5 children have gone missing inside Chuck E. Cheese. Parents report smells coming ... One from Associated Press called, quote, "Post-hour worker at Chuck E. Cheese reported dead at 27. And a final one from the Something News titled, "Night shift worker at Chuck E. Cheese claims strange movements from animatronics during post hours." However, this title had animatronics spelt incorrectly. It said Amicatronics. Everyone was freaking out, and pictures of the articles, particularly the first one, were shared all over the internet. People were like absolutely spamming everyone, especially because this was around the time where Chuck E. Cheese had announced its closure. However, people didn't realize that these were fake. How are they fake, do you ask? It's easy. They just edited the source code, okay? Because you can change what anything says on a website, but it will only change for you until you reload the page, okay? And you can do this by editing the source code. You just need to find the aspect you're looking for, and then you can change what it says. Once you do that, you can do basically whatever you want. You can even change pictures, okay? So whoever made the original image just found an article from USA Today. It didn't even have to be about Chuck E. Cheese because they could have changed the picture, and they just changed the title to 5 missing children going missing, and like the same thing with the other articles, hence why there were only images of the articles and not actual links. It was a hoax that blew up, and people actually believed it, and some still do. In it for disturbing desires. So this is something that I've noticed in the comments that actually worries me, as well as pretty embarrassing. So we've made a series of videos about how we could turn the closed Chuck E. Cheese restaurants into FNAF joints, okay? Or even like just one ideal location. Not in Utah, though, ironically. But you see, in the comments of those videos, which you should totally go watch, by the way, then share them with Scott, because I want to kind of do that even if it's just open for like a week or a weekend. And I mean, like, if Mr. Beast can open fast food, I'm sure Scott can make this happen, okay? The comments, though, on those videos are full of various people telling me how they think it would be a great idea, because then they could die in the FNAF restaurant and go on to possess an animatronic. What? Why the absolute living would you want that? First of all, okay, possession, not real. That's not a thing in real life. I've yet to see real evidence of it or anything else paranormal. In addition to that, though, even going by FNAF rules, you would need to suffer in order to die and generate the agony that is needed to possess something. Since in FNAF, all possession is actually just a manifestation of your extreme agony grabbing onto something that's nearby, as we learned from Fazbear Frights and Dr. Phineas Taggart. Getting close to the end in number 3, forgetting Foxy. I'm pretty sure that the Foxy mechanic was added to help keep the player from just keeping their screen down for the whole night, since I don't think you can really get jump scared if you don't bring up the tablet with the cameras unless like you're looking to the wrong side of the office. So Foxy was a way to ensure that you actually had to load up the cameras and hold them back, as a way to actually have the possibility of being jump scared. Because if you don't look at Foxy throughout the whole first night, he can actually jump scare you. However, forgetting about Foxy and not checking Pirate's Cove is a horrible idea, even if unintentional. My personal strategy is to put the camera on Pirate's Cove when you close the tablet, so that you make sure that when you open it the next time, Foxy gets his dose, okay? He gets his attention. And just like Peanut, the SCP, he'll stay in place. And that just makes sure that I don't forget about him either, because my reaction time isn't fast enough to stop him from getting into the office. But ultimately, in at number 2, purple versus pink. The purple versus pink guy debate is the Mike versus Will Trap debate, okay? But it's from the early days, when all we had to worry about was different colors and not like 14 different purple characters. This debate came after FNAF 2's Foxy Go 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 minigame, where some fans believed that the guy standing in the corner all smiley was a different group of dead kids, and it was a different killer because he was slightly lighter That's right, he was not the exact hexadecimal code for purple that we knew, so we thought it was a different person. And you know what? This is stupid. Don't do this, okay? They're all the purple guy. It says so in the FNAF like handbook or whatever it's called. It says purple guy, okay? He's the purple guy. Stop it. Leave me alone, okay? I only use the pink guy when I need an extra slot on a list because there's not enough William Afton versions or something like that, okay? It's purple guy. And finally, in at number 1, the Bite of 83. The Bite of 87 was one of the most mysterious moments in the entirety of the FNAF series, and it was introduced in the first game. Being introduced in the series into FNAF 1 from 2014, the Bite of 87 has remained one of the most debated points in FNAF history, and we can't quite agree on what happened. At first, we thought it was Golden Freddy who caused it, then Freddy, then Mangle, then Fredbear, then Toy Chica, then back to Mangle, and then everyone in between. And everyone has their own opinion on the subject, but for some reason, most people think that FNAF 4 is the Bite of 87. However, it's been confirmed that it's the Bite of 83. Okay, if you Google the Bite of 87 as well, you get pictures from FNAF 4, which is not helping. And I don't think it helped that one of the most famous lines Markiplier has ever said was that the Bite of 87? It wasn't, Mark. I'm sorry. Okay, it's been years. Everyone needs to stop it, okay? The Bite of 83 is FNAF 4, and I still see it in the comments today, so stop it. In at 10, Music Man! Now, a more recent embarrassing moment, or maybe it's not embarrassing to him, MatPat was reacting to the latest trailer, at least at the time, for Security Breach, when he sees a giant Music Man crawl out of a hole in the West Arcade, a sequence we now know as one of the best in the entire game. But his reaction to the character's first appearance, iconic, with a very intense Music Man! MatPat flipped about being right with one of his mini theories about the legs we see on screen in Freddy and Friends on Tour episode 304, where he claimed that the white gloves really indicated that it was going to be Music Man. But this moment was not only iconic, but kinda memeified, with me referencing it multiple times in various previous videos, and the internet even remixing this into a song that is so much of a jam even Snoop Dogg would bop to it. I mean, like, there's also the whole meme of crying child as a kid wearing any shirt with 2 stripes thing that was going around, and then I even used it in the thumbnail for Top 10 Gaming Elite. That's probably more embarrassing, but I haven't really gotten to talk about the whole Music Man thing, so I wanted to. And at 9, Manglevent. Eddie VR is one of the most popular VR tubers on YouTube currently, with over 6 million subscribers at the time of recording. He was really put on the map though thanks to his FNAF VR Like a Mexican series, which he also continued with his FNAF Security Breach Like a Mexican series on his second channel, which also used to be his main channel. Long story. Anyway, when starting up his series, he was getting a feel for the game. This involved him popping into some of the mini games, freaking out, and then quitting. And after staking his head outside the office in FNAF 1, thus triggering a Foxy jump scare, he hopped into the Manglevent repair level. Now, his initial reaction was that this doesn't seem too bad, but when the lights go out, he starts freaking out a bit. But when it really got embarrassing, but also hilarious, was when he started the level by flipping the first lever, right? The one that's in front of you that you have to get real close to. And then he went absolutely ballistic when Mango was right there in his face. Of course, he was calling it Mangoes, which made quite a few commenters more than a bit upset, but still. Absolutely hilarious, but I'm sure not for him. And at 8, 5 honks at Cali's. And by Cali, I mean California. Since back in 2014, when the first FNAF game came out, Smosh Games did their first FNAF Game Bang, as they were calling it. Game. YouTube game, where they all played a round of the game, and the person who survived the shortest amount of time before getting killed had to put on a werewolf costume and dance around in the street in an attempt to get 5 cars to honk at them, only being able to take the costume off when they did. Now, this would have been more embarrassing if it wasn't Lasercorn who got punished, or maybe now I just think that that would be way too fun, but honestly, I remember this video so fondly, and at the time, I thought it was pretty embarrassing. Like, nowadays, I'd probably just do that for fun, and instead of having to be forced to do it because I lost a game. But still, at the time, it was pretty rough to watch. Not as rough as some of their other punishments. Wrestling and lubricant definitely comes to mind, but these were the good old days of YouTube, where people watched Minecraft mod reviews and my music taste was limited to Minecraft parodies. Oh, and when I didn't talk about FNAF for 8 hours a day. And at 7, Chica. The problem with this, it's embarrassing because every time I bring up Chica, I can't help but make some form of crude joke about her. And not like a stupid joke like Kentucky Fried Chica like I did for Top 10 Tastiest Animatronics and for that thumbnail. Instead, what I did for number 1 of the Tastiest tastiest animatronics list, where I put Toy Chica as number 1, then said it was obvious as to why she was at the top, because she is one. Like, don't get me wrong, okay? I think that it was funny as hell, but that's still kind of embarrassing, since, you know, like, it's a fictional robot chicken, and I make jokes about wanting to sleep with. I don't know any way to put that delicately, honestly. I mean, like, I made the whole top 10 tastiest animatronics list because I wanted to make that joke at the end about how Toy Chica was the tastiest. For real, that's why I made the list. So I could just say that I wanted to eat Chica. Yeah, embarrassing. That video was made when we only had 90 FNAF videos on the channel though. 300 later, and I cry anytime I hear a nose honk. And at 6, panic. Honestly, looking back, panicking at all during a FNAF game is pretty embarrassing, since nothing can really hurt you, and while yes, in VR it definitely feels like you're really there, it's not really going to cause any danger to you. Although, I will say that I am totally a little bitch when it comes to horror, okay? The first time I played FNAF VR, I played it on the channel, and I'm already bad at normal FNAF, so playing it in VR was even worse, okay? I was even worse, which resulted in me running out of power on the first night, which is kind of my signature move. So, as the slowed March of the Toreador started playing, I was freaking out, and I knew that that was pretty embarrassing. But not only that, I actually then proceeded to survive the night since the time hit 6 a.m., thus making all that panicking worthless and for nothing. I'll let you in on a little secret though, okay? Well, what you saw was embarrassing. The reason I find it so embarrassing was because I was closing my eyes in the headset. Yeah, I had planned on reacting to the jump scare sound, since I would be able to tell audio-wise and I wouldn't have to deal with Freddy in my face, but yeah, closed my eyes in a VR headset because I'm a little bit. Halfway through, into number 5, Springtrap rule. One of the other most embarrassing things that, while may not have happened to anyone or in any of the FNAF games, is just the sheer amount of famous internet rule images and videos that there are for these characters. But like, okay, look, with Chica, I get it. God damn it, there I go again. But the worst one of all, at least I think on the embarrassment scale, is Springtrap Rule 34. Art. That rule being for anything you can find on the internet, somewhere, somehow, there will be an adult version of that content. And unsurprisingly, FNAF and even Springtrap are not immune to this rule, unfortunately. But just think about that for a second, please. Most people consider William Afton to be dead, even if he's not actually dead. Which means that most people who look at this are looking at a dead serial killer's rotting corpse stuck inside an animatronic that has shoved every inch of him with metal and robotic bits and thinking, damn, that's sexy. I've had people DM me these forms of Springtrap images before. Like, bro, what? Why? Like, he's literally a man who should be dead, but is being kept alive by the spirit of one of his kid victims, and you want to see him flog the dolphin? This is the reason that God left in Supernatural. God has left the chat. Jesus has left the chat. Allah has left. Everyone has left. Satan has left the chat. And at 4, FNAF 4 prediction. Oh, look at that. Once again, MatPat is on this list. However, I've made enough digs at myself. It's kind of equal, so I think it's allowed. But during the build up to FNAF 4, we really had no idea what was going on. And then once it released early on, MatPat thought that he had won, saying that in a rush to actually release FNAF 4, Scott missed a huge detail that made the game actually impossible, without even pointing out how anything is possible in a series about animatronics being possessed by the souls of children and a killer who literally can't die. The entire theory relied on the point that this was the bite of 87, something that last time I noted is one of the most embarrassing debates in all of FNAF history, saying that if the frontal lobe of the brain had been removed by an animatronic, the kid that we play as wouldn't feel fear, thus the nightmare animatronics were impossible. And you know what? This would have been true had this have been the bite of 87. However, we now know that that is not the case. But since MatPat was stuck in con season, we'll give him a bit of a pass here. But seriously, looking back, it's pretty cringe, especially with what we know now. Like, looking back on any past theory, especially my own when more evidence comes to life, is a pretty rough deal, but yeah. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, the Puppet. The Puppet is one of the most iconic characters ever in the FNAF space. The character that gave life to other animatronics and William Afton's first victim, but also one of the simplest characters to contain. All you need to do in FNAF 2 to avoid the Puppet is keep the music box wound. The game even tells you when it's running out of juice with a flashing icon on your screen, and then even a flashing icon next to the camera that you need to go to wind up the box. So imagine how embarrassing it is to get jump scared by the puppet when the game gives you a million warnings that you're about to be jump scared. Yeah, pretty embarrassing. And it's even worse in FNAF VR, since thanks to the way that it's set up, you just need to keep your finger on the wind button and then use your other hand to worry about the lights and the Freddy mask. That's it. It's one of the easiest FNAF VR levels because of this. But people still get jump scared by the puppet. And it's unfortunate really, but still creepy because the way the puppet walks up to you in FNAF VR. At least like that way you literally see it coming, although at that point you also can't really stop what's happening. It explains how he got there though. He didn't just jump from his room and go around corners. And ultimately, in at number 2, was that the bite of 87? Markiplier is commonly known as the FNAF King. Some consider Dawko the FNAF King, others MatPat. And despite our over 400 FNAF videos, nobody really thinks that I'm the FNAF King, despite me literally having King in my username, but that's fine, I'm not salty. However, the biggest embarrassment, at least in my eyes for Mark, was the infamous line, "Was that the bite of 87?" said after watching Crying Child get chomped on at the end of FNAF 4. Now, this was indeed not the bite of 87, but this single line sent the internet spiraling. Now, some people still to this day fight that FNAF 4 is the bite of 87, which it's not. The game takes place in 1983, okay, and it was confirmed as such in Sister Location. But either way, I've had multiple people follow me on either Instagram or TikTok, which you should totally follow, by the way, because I'm posting more FNAF content on there. But a lot of these users have had their names as some version of this line. The one I can remember the most, which is probably because it was the first one, was that the bite of _87? And then after that, a whole lot of them came. I don't know why. I mean, like, it's probably something that Mark wants to forget, but I'm sure that Markiplier simps love it. Yeah, that's right, Jada, I'm looking at you. What do I need to do to be the FNAF King? God, I've only made videos for a year. And finally, in at number 1, Left Eye. This is definitely not going to help with the whole FNAF King thing. However, it's more of a case of not being the Direction King. So back when FNAF VR first came out, I was playing it on the channel a couple of times. Actually, no, this was like 2 years after it first came out. But when I first got it, like I mentioned previously, I was secretly closing my eyes because, again, I'm a little... However, the most embarrassing time for me was when I was trying to do parts and service levels. It starts off with Bonnie, and in becoming the purple guy in FNAF VR, which is a video on the channel that you should check out, the first instructions are to remove Bonnie's left eye. Now, I pulled out the left eye, but I kept getting jump scared, so I figured I was doing it too slow, or too fast, or I was hitting Bonnie instead of just pulling out the eye, so I tried it, and I kept trying, and I tried a lot, each time getting jump scared. And it wasn't until after the video, after I had filmed it and was editing it, that I realized that I was pulling out my left instead of Bonnie's left, which is a really stupid way of putting it, but I guess it makes sense given the series we're talking about here. Yeah, that was a rough one. I loved the comments on that video though. I was red-faced for like a month after this until I finally got my redemption. In at 10, Springtrap and Ballora. This is probably the most sane one out of all of these ships, but sane does not mean not cringe. First of all, Ballora and Springtrap are not married, like I saw at least one comment, but seemingly multiple suggest in the previous ships list. That's not a thing. They're animatronics, and there is no evidence that Ballora is possessed, either by a Mrs. Afton or literally anyone, despite the novels having the fun times be injected with the remnant of the 5 original animatronics. There's no evidence for that in the games. And while Ballora could have been created as a surrogate mother or a representation of a woman that Afton loved or couldn't have or whatever the story ends up actually being, this is still all kinds of weird. Like, what are you people doing? Bro, do you realize that this is a serial killer trapped in a robot suit? Right? Like this isn't just your old run-of-the-mill ship. In fact, none of these are. To put it into a different perspective, you're basically shipping Jeffrey Dahmer with a robot woman. You're shipping Ted Bundy with a fembot, for God's sakes. Like, does that really seem normal to you? Because it shouldn't. In at 9, Springtrap X Matt. Now, I'm not quite sure what this is shipping because there was no way in hell that I was putting that in my search history, but when I looked up Springtrap X, this was one of the suggestions, Springtrap and Matt. Now, I'm fairly certain that this is talking about the Springtrap and the Matt from the Fazbear Frights book Bunny Call, where a video game designer named Matt ends up giving birth to a real-world version of Springtrap, but a load of people guessed or assumed that this Matt was intended to be a reference to MatPat of Game Theory, which is honestly pretty terrifying. But now, people have begun shipping the characters. And the only reason this is higher on the list instead of lower is because this is only my suspicion. Because again, there was no way in any dimension or universe that I actually clicked that suggestion. No way in living hell would I ever do that. Not if hell froze over, not if pigs could fly, not if butterflies flew out of my ass, not if a dinosaur head popped out of my butt and ate my coffee table. No, not a chance in literally any dimension. And I subscribe to the many worlds theory, much like how you should subscribe to the channel, so technically there should be a dimension where I clicked it, but not this time. No sir. And it ate Springtrap and Vanny. Now, I'd like to point out to the jury that Springtrap is a serial killer trapped inside a robot, but also that they do not exist as of Security Breach when Vanny is introduced, since at this point Springtrap has turned into Burntrap. So, for this to work, there would need to be a load of shenanigans, since for Vanny to be created, Springtrap has to become Scraptrap, and then burn in FNAF 6, releasing his soul to possess the hard drive that gets scanned into Help Wanted, that then takes over our brains as Vanessa in Help Wanted. So, for Vanny to be created, Springtrap has to die. Neither can live while the other survives, as the Harry Potter prophecy says. So, like, how on earth are we supposed to ship Springtrap and Vanny when it's literally impossible? This is why I don't like these kinds of things, okay? It makes me think, and it just seems impossible. Like, I don't want to think about the lore implications of shipping animatronics. This is all kinds of cursed, and it actually physically hurts me. I feel physical pain, like someone stabbed me. And at 7, Springtrap and Mangle. Springtrap and Mangle is one of the ships that was suggested the most in the comments of cringy FNAF ships, and I can see why. Firstly, what the hell? Okay, why would you even consider these two to be a good pairing? Second, isn't Mangle possessed by a dog? Like, didn't we settle on this? Like, William used Mangle and Susie's dog as like a remnant experiment to see if he could actually get robots to be possessed? Or have we forgotten about that for some reason? And I mean, like, a literal animal as well. Like, not he a dog, like he's literally a dog. Like, this is borderline Beauty and the Beast kind of thing going on here. Like, what the living f are you people thinking? We're shipping a serial killer who only kills kids and a goddamn actual animal possessing an animatronic. Like, I don't know what's going on anymore. Why are we like this? This makes me want to actually leave the community and stop making FNAF videos. Like, why is this a thing? I don't want to be associated with this. So, because of that, we're moving on. And at 6, Springtrap and Golden Freddy. Now, in the previous ships video, I mentioned how shipping Springtrap with anyone was cringe, but specifically the original 5 animatronics, since each one are one of his victims, and a kid. Golden Freddy is no exception. Remember people, since Springtrap is the combination of Spring Bonnie and William Afton, who by all means is a real person in their reality, this means you are shipping this person with the animatronic version of Golden Freddy, which is filled with the rotting corpse of Cassidy. Cause some consider Cassidy to be the one you should not have killed, and while those who think that are wrong, that would only add yet another layer of to this already messed up ship. You people need to stop this. The only way that it could get worse was if he is shipped with a family member that he ended up causing the death of. Oh wait, yeah. It's not on this list because it was too much for a whole number, but there is also a Springtrap and Crying Child ship that I think needs to be investigated by the authorities or something, because like that's not even like daddy issues, okay? That's mental issues. Plus, again, like the Vanny thing, impossible lore-wise. Halfway through into number 5, Springtrap and Michael. Oh yes, like I said, the only way it could get worse was if he was being shipped with a family member that he ended up causing the death of, and here we are. The Springtrap x Michael ship is one of the most horrific things I've ever witnessed. And honestly, even talking about it, I kinda wanna hurl. And before you get mad at me saying William didn't cause the death of Michael or Crying Child, yes he did. He was the one who superpowered the Fredbear animatronic and gave it the ability to crush a skull. And before you try using the whole, if someone holds your hand under a hydraulic press, it's not the person who made the hydraulic press's fault on me, okay? These two things are entirely different scenarios. And this case, this is like someone pushing me onto a fence that is labeled as a normal fence, but then someone came along and made it an electric fence without anyone knowing. In that case, the person who made the fence electric is at fault. Secondly, William, by killing people and causing his son to feel immense remorse, caused his other son to die. By killing people, he set his fate as being stuck in the FNAF 6 location, one that Michael felt the need to be at to ensure his father's destruction, which caused him to be trapped inside since Henry never provided an exit. And you wanna ship them? Knowing they're related. Y'all are and at 4, Springtrap and Sans. You know what? I'm gonna say what I said last time I brought this up because honestly, this is worse than almost anything else on this list. Like, why are you shipping Springtrap with Sans? That's not even a character in the series, for God's sakes. That is cringe. How the ever-loving duck does that work? There are like whole Instagram accounts that I've seen revolving around this concept, and I don't know if you're joking or not. Who thought of this? What made this idea come to life? How many recreational substances were you on? Like, Sans is a 2-foot tall skeleton boy, and Springtrap is a dead serial killer who's taken more lives than years Sans has lived. Like, not really, because Sans is like 2 million years old, but that's even more weird. Like, do you see my point? The balance also is just kind of confusing. Okay, it's like someone who's like really short married to someone who's like 6 feet. It's like a 5-foot tall person being married to a 7-foot tall person. How does that even work? What? Like, Sans would need an actual ladder to have a proper conversation with Springtrap, let alone anything else. Like, not even a step ladder. Okay, you would need like an actual ladder. I wouldn't even bat an eye if they were using one of the extending ladders that fire trucks have on the top. Yeah, this is all kinds of screwy. And besides, at that scale, he's below level too. So what's the point? Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Springtrap and Baby. This is even worse than the Michael one, because not only is Springtrap again the father of the girl possessing Baby and the direct cause of her death, but this girl is also knee-high to a grasshopper at the time of her death. Do you realize how absolutely disgusting that is? When I looked up Springtrap X, as I was doing for most of these numbers, this is one of the first ones that came up. And you know what? That's just wrong. This is shameful. It's even worse than the Michael one. I'm not even joking. Who on God's green earth thought that this was a good idea? And before you defend yourself saying it's the character of Baby, firstly, William designed Baby to appeal to his daughter. Secondly, the only version of the Baby character that we know of is the one that Elizabeth is possessing. I feel like everyone who ships this needs a long, hard talk with Chris Hansen and that Russian guy on TikTok who is catfishing adults with a 14-year-old profile and then scaring them so bad they never did it again. Like, holy sweet Jesus, this is messed up. This is one of the 2 things that I hate the most in the world, and I don't even want to think about how people can actually be shipping this for real. So we're moving on. That's not my, I'm mad about this. This is, I'm mad. And ultimately, in at number 2, Springtrap and the Puppet. While this isn't as messed up, okay, there has been an awful amount of fan art about this ship that honestly makes me want to yak. Firstly, this is William's first victim, guys, so like, why would you ship them together? Secondly, the amount of art that I've seen where I have seen them with a baby is too much. Like a literal child, okay? People. These are robots, and one of them is a killer trapped inside of a robot with no vital human recreating organs existing. So, why are you trying to make them have babies? Please, for the love of everything that is holy, unholy, persistent, illegitimate, dark light, whatever you want to praise, for the love of it, please stop. It's wrong, it's horrifying, it's one of the most messed up things that I could think of. However, it still doesn't top our number 1 spot. And you'll see why in a minute. I can't handle this. Why? Why would you do this? This was originally going to be number 1. But I just didn't want to give the people who do ship this the satisfaction of it being on the top of the list. Because even though that would mean that it's the cringiest ship of them all, they ship the Puppet and Springtrap, so clearly they can't understand logic and they would just see number 1 and be happy. And finally, in at number 1, Springtrap X Reader. This feels like a personal attack if I'm being frankly honest, because you know what, if I read one of these I would have been the reader and I don't want that to happen. Number 1. This was the #1 search when I looked up Springtrap X, okay, Springtrap X Reader, and I don't even want to know how that works. Like, I know how it works, but I don't want to know how someone reading a fanfic would end up falling in love with Springtrap, a literal animatronic man serial killer hybrid. What the everlasting sweet holy Jesus is going on with this community? These are the kinds of people who send Polaroids to serial killers who are in prison for life. I don't understand it anymore. I need to take a shower, sit on the ground, and cry for the entire weekend because this is just what? How does one even come up with the concept for falling in love with an animatronic man hybrid? If it was Chica, I'd understand. But Springtrap, he is one of the most Rule 34 animatronics out there for seemingly no reason, because I just want death now. The fact that people are falling in love with William Afton's filleted body stuck with a bunch of robotic parts, and I can't get a girl to stick around for more than a couple days is pretty damn ridiculous. Maybe I should, like, finally cave and let this series turn me into the maniac I'm probably going to become, because apparently they get all the girls. In at 10, Roxy and Monty. Being the newest additions to the FNAF roster, it was inevitable that these two characters would end up being shipped. But why? They're robots. They don't have the capacity for actual emotions. Everything they feel or seem to feel is just coded as their personality. They don't really have any actual emotions. It's impossible. So why ship these characters? And the reason I went with Roxy and Monty is because I looked up Roxy and the first ship suggestion was Monty, followed by Chica, which is a whole other level of weird because, like, what? Plus, Chica is mine. The only Chica ship I allow is me and Chica because it's the only thing that makes sense. But seriously, I don't see the fascination with this. These two specifically, like Roxy and Monty, seem like your typical Instagram gym rat couple that fight all the time unless they're at the gym, but you can't see it because, you know, it's Instagram. So I don't know why you people think that this is A, a good idea, or B, normal. Speaking of not normal, in at 9, Ennard and Exotic Butters. This is just, what the actual Shipping animatronics based on characters is one thing. Sure, shipping a collection of animatronics with no discernible character is another, but then shipping that amalgam with a basket of butter is totally a different thing. That honestly makes me feel incredibly cursed. Like, what the actual ever-loving hell is that? How does that even, like, how would that even, it's a basket of butter, people. It doesn't even have eyes, let alone the capacity to love. Why is Ennard and Exotic Butters even a thing? This is one of the most confusing moments of my life, including what happened literally a year ago, probably like to the week. I have debated just like letting this whole thing be a run-on sentence because I can't handle the amount of buffoonery that is going on in order to cause this to even cross someone's mind. Then, like, this is the kind of thing that makes me question ships altogether, like in every single aspect of reality. Because you can argue that it's the characters you're shipping all you want, okay? But this disproves that concept in my mind. Like how one person does something and then the entire class gets punished. Yeah, you can blame the Ennard x Exotic Butters shippers for making the entire concept of shipping characters and whatever ridiculous, okay? And that's not even the worst one. We're not even halfway done. In at 8, Freddy and Chica. This is actually just because of the thumbnail for the original Scary Fan Ships video, because I remember making that thumbnail and it was a traumatizing experience. Why do people ship animatronics anyway? Or like, the characters. Like, what's the point? What's the amusement in it? Like, there's no way that, especially in this series, any of these characters are going to be confirmed to be dating. Like, I can understand shipping characters that might get together, like TV shows like Bones or Arrow, but these characters are just giant animals, so what's the point of trying to ship them? I'm not usually one to yak someone's yick, but like, come on. Seriously, I don't understand it. And I mean, like, a bear and a chicken, do you know the size difference there? I couldn't even, like, I don't even care about the size difference of the characters. I'm talking about the actual animals because I can't wrap my head around it, okay? Although a chicken the size of a bear would be a good source of protein. And at number 7, Baby X Puppet. Okay, why? Like, what the ever-loving hell is this? I search up cringe FNAF ships, like I'm not gonna get weird ads from it, and the first thing I see is Baby and the puppet. Do you realize that these are like dead people, right? Like, one of them is the daughter of the dude that killed the other. Like, this is some serious star-crossed lovers BS, because that makes absolutely no sense. This is worse than Romeo and Juliet with guns. Like, this is worse than the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet modern day movie. And even if you are shipping the characters, why? Why do the puppet and Baby deserve to be together? Like, what? One of them was designed to take lives, literally, and the other was designed to guard a girl so that her life wasn't taken. This is some serious reaching, and I mean like Mr. Fantastic level reaching. Not to mention that there are literally 3-year-olds possessing these animatronics. So I don't know what kind of creep level you're on, but I can hear Chris Hansen knocking on your door, trying to ask you some questions. Like, bro, seriously, that's more sus than Gregory venting. Hop on the sus bus, bro, here we go. And at 6, Toy Bonnie and Toy Chica. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I thought that this was fairly normal. But looking this up, this was generally not safe for the majority of audiences. This is some of the most concerning fan art that I have ever seen. Like, seriously, I'm gonna need some actual eye bleach after this. So if you could please just refrain from posting anything like this in the future, I would really appreciate it. Like, none of the drawings that I saw were friendly. They all had something exposed, and sometimes had multiple somethings. Like, Bonnie is supposed to be a male character, okay? And in the fan art, sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't. Sometimes they were both. Like, same thing with Chica, okay? And honestly, it's not that like I'm against it or anything. It's just, it's disturbing when it's animatronics that are anthropomorphic animals, okay? I mean, like, these animatronics, they're robots. They don't really have genders or biological sexes, because, again, they're robots, so who really cares? But, like, what the hell? These are as intense as a heart attack. Like, Jesus. It was just Easter, and this is the reason Jesus didn't come back this time. Although, from the context of these images, in this case, we already got a second coming. Ironically, Bonnie is a bunny, and so is the Easter bunny. But for real, this is some haunting stuff. Plus, again, Chica's mine, so back on. Halfway through, and at number 5, Ennard and Ballora. This is a whole other kind of weird. Like, we have some messed up stuff coming up in the next few numbers, but this is a little self-gratifying, if you ask me. Did anyone realize that Ballora was a part of Ennard when they were drawing these? Cause like, that's a whole other can of worms that's just trying to bust out that I'm ignoring cause I don't want to look at it. In fact, this whole fishing shop is giving me weird vibes. This is just... Plus, if you think about it, Ballora was intended on being a surrogate mother, and then in Ennard is Baby. Ennard is in part Baby, meaning that this ship is in essence Elizabeth with her mother. Like, not literally, thank God, although I'm positive that it's out there somewhere. I don't have the courage to look that up. Like, what the heck? What the hell? Like, what's the point of this? Seriously, no jokes. Why do people ship animatronics? I don't get that mindset. It's not like they're gonna make any of these canon, because again, they're animatronics. It's weird. Although I guess it's not as bad as like shipping like people together, like real people, not characters. Like, instead of shipping Peter and MJ, you ship Tom and Zendaya. I mean, like, that would be weirder if they weren't dating, but like, if you ship two like actual humans that aren't dating, that's weird. They are dating, right? I thought that was confirmed. In at 4, Springtrap and Sans. This is just... This is worse than Ennard and Exotic Butters, honestly. Like, why are you shipping Springtrap with Ness? Get it? Because Sans is Ness. That's not even a character in the series, for God's sakes. Like, that is cringe. How the ever-loving hell does that even work? There are whole Instagram accounts revolving around this concept, and I don't know if it's a joke or not. Like, who thought of this? What made this idea come to life? How many illicit substances were you on at the time of conception? How many cigarettes did you smoke? How much wine did you, how much sushi did you eat when you were inseminated with this idea? Sans is like a 2-foot tall skeleton boy, and Springtrap is a possessed, supposed to be dead serial killer who has taken more lives than years that Sans has lived. Okay, not really, but you get my point, right? Like, the balance here is just all kinds of confusing. Like when I saw who Vanessa Morgan was engaged to at one point, like the girl from Riverdale who was engaged to the football player that was like twice her height and 3 times her width. How does that even work? Sans would need an actual ladder to actually even have a conversation, let alone kiss anyone. Not even like a step ladder, like an actual ladder. I wouldn't even bat an eye if they were using one of the extending ladders that fire trucks have. Like, yeah, this is all kinds of screwy. And this is in part the reason I need to bleach my eyes, honestly. Getting close to the end, in at number 3, Vanny and Burntrap. This one is just all kinds of wrong. Firstly, this is the most Stockholm Syndrome thing to the goddamn max. Okay, like Vanny is literally being kept captive inside of her mind by Burntrap to a point where she literally fears for her life when her shrink finds out she bought fabric for a costume. She's under his command at basically any time, and then you people want to ship her with the body of a dead serial killer trapped in an animatronic that was then repossessed by the same dead serial killer's sentient code form. Do I need to explain how messed up that is? Really? Like, bro, we thought William was rotting before, now he is literally rotten. Now, it is finally his corpse version. Like, what the hell? Who, the ever-loving flying thought that this was a sane combination? Like, don't get me wrong, Vanessa is looking fly as hell in the base game. The sass when interrogating Freddy certainly got me moving. But this is messed up. Like, at least ship her with an alive serial killer. And ultimately, in at number 2, Mike and Baby. Shipping Michael and Baby is very similar to shipping Vanny and Burntrap, considering how Baby is definitely going to be a bigger antagonist later in the series, or at least has the potential to be, since in the FNAF 6 ending she wanted to impress dear old dad. But this time around, it has the added layer of Michael and Baby being siblings. Yes, if you don't remember, somehow, Baby is possessed by the spirit of Elizabeth, William's daughter, and more importantly in this situation, Michael's sister. You can tell me that it's the character you're shipping all you goddamn want, but in this instance, you are shipping a character who in that reality, in that world, is a real human. Therefore, you would have to be shipping them with the animatronic that is also real. And just how would that have to work from a logical standpoint? That's just how it would have to work from a logical standpoint. Therefore, you are literally shipping Michael and his dead sister. And that is the most cringe-worthy thing that I have ever seen. Okay, well, the second cringiest, because this next one, oh boy, is it a doozy. And I've mentioned this many times before, but as of like a month ago, for reasons that I will not explain, I have a vendetta against this so I am tearing him to shreds as much as I can. Finally, in at number 1, Springtrap and anyone. Okay, Springtrap is one of the most confusingly Rule 34'd characters I have ever seen. There have been multiple people who have DM'd me on Instagram saying that they're in love with Springtrap, and then there are others who have sent me ruled art of Springtrap, along with the reason that caused me a great deal of pain that I'm not going to talk about. But let's get one thing straight, okay? No matter who you are shipping, Springtrap and whoever, you are shipping them with a possessed serial killer who probably took their lives to begin with, who should be dead but is being kept alive by the spirit of their dead son. There is no Springtrap character, okay? The character is Springlock Bonnie. But using the name of Springtrap, you are actively shipping the William Afton version of Spring Bonnie. And let's say you're shipping him with any of the original 5 animatronics. It doesn't matter who, okay? Boom! You're shipping him with one of his victims because, again, he is in that real world a person. Same thing as Michael, okay? Ship him with the puppet, boom, his first victim. With Baby, boom, that's his daughter. The amount of let's call it love that this character gets is frightening, and in reality it showcases the daddy issues you all have. And normally that would be fine, but in this instance this is like, was your father Jeffrey Dahmer? God.